Hey guys, Scott, Heritage Farms, Texas. Okay, on this video, well, what are we doing? We're gonna show you the repair. So, you know, the last video I showed you the damage that was done and asked for some advice and everything on how to fix it. Well, I just finally took some of your advice. I also formalized my own plan of attack, and I dove into it, and we pretty much got it back on the road. So anyway, this video is going to show you how we repaired the deck, how we put it back together, and how we got it running again. So if any of you guys are out there and you have deck problems on your John Deere 525E, or for that matter, I would assume it would be very similar for any other brand, I hope this video is helpful, and at least it'll show you the repairs that we did to fix the deck and get it back working. Hey, hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so I'm doing a little more investigative work here. I've got the blades off. You can see I'm holding two blades on top of one another. Notice how this side over here, the blades are a perfect match. But look over here, how much they are off on this one. So I think this is the bad blade. So we'll take this one. You can see, once again, this side, everything matches up. That side's even got a little bend to it, but a much closer gap on that. Let's take these two. See, if I hold them together on the one side over here, look how they're touching on the end and they're off in the middle. So definitely I don't know which one is which, but I'm actually somewhat, oh, when you lay them out like this, oh, you get the rest of the story right here. You can just kind of look at these and you can see this one, I don't know, man. They're definitely off on that side. This side looks a little bit closer. We look at them from the ends. You can see they're somewhat flat on this one. Look at them from this direction. We got some bends. So long story short, I think I'm gonna be fortunate in the sense that the spindles and everything are good. So I think if I can repair the deck and reinforce it with some flat iron, get 3 new blades, put it back together and see where I'm at. That's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. Let me know what you guys think. All right, hit this with the Makita grinder, and you can see I've got pretty much all of the cracks down to bare metal. So I feel like I've got a place where I can actually get a pretty decent weld. I got to figure out how to pull this up. You know, if you can see daylight through that crack, no bueno. No good, senor. So look at that, that looks pretty bad. That's one of the idler pulleys. That's where I think we got a lot of the trouble that started. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to hammer that down. On the bottom side, I'm gonna flip it over and see if I can actually maybe weld a piece of extra metal on the bottom for support, and then come back on the top and weld another bead. So kind of like a sandwich. But anyway, we're making progress. It's not pretty. Look at that crack. Man, 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 look at those cracks. Wow. A lot of damage, a lot of destruction, but hey, what's the proverbial saying? And excuse my French, shit happens, right? Well, we're gonna fix it. Setting, but so this right here on the top was one of the idler pulleys, and you can see where it's actually pulled through. I've got it beat back down. I think I've got it fairly straight. You can see the metal is pretty flush now. So I'm gonna weld it from the top and the bottom to give it a little support. But one of the things I'm gonna do is, since that metal has already got some fatigue, I came in here and I found this little piece of metal. I'm gonna actually weld that over the top of that, just to give it a little bit of a bridge from some weak metal to some good metal. Give it a little bit more strength right in that little area. So over here on this side, what are we doing? Well, you can see we got major cracks along this side. I'm not so much worried about that one. This right here though, this one's pretty good because this follows the bell housing for one of the blades. So there is a lot of torque and metal fatigue, so I need to get a really good weld on that. One of the things I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna weld these metal flat washers down on each side of it. Once again, just trying to give it a little bit more anchor. On the top, I'm probably gonna use some flat iron on the top. So between the top and the bottom, some of those key points, once again, just trying to give it more strength, kick the can down the road. So that's what I'm gonna weld on there, and we'll run a bead in between and around this way, but I think this will hopefully stop the crack from spreading on out and give it a little bit more structural integrity in those areas. Anything you can do to beef it up helps. Some people would call this rigging. I'm just going to call it Southern engineering, and like our forefathers, you make do, right? You find a solution and you use it. So that's the approach. Okay, so I've finished power washing the bottom of the deck at this point using the Ryobi 2300 PSI power washer. Very happy with it. There was a lot of negative criticism on a lot of my earlier videos when I bought it compared to a gas rig, but let me tell you what, I'm happy with it and it seems to be working. So what have we done? Well, a lot. So if you remember when we started, this thing had a major crack that went up here, pretty severe crack. It had a crack all the way around, came over, then it had a separate crack that went this direction. So we have welded all of the cracks. This was such a bad area up here. I just put a fender washer up there, welded it in place just to have more structural support. Also, so when we welded it on the top, it would be better. Over here, this was the spindle or the pulley spindle from the top that had totally ripped out. If you remember, we put a piece of flat iron in here, welded that up. So now I'm going to put some spray paint on here, or a little primer, then come back and shoot some black spray paint, because honestly, I don't care about the color and what it looks like down here. Just want to make sure that it's solid and decent and won't rust or delay the rust. Pretty cheap deck, but we'll see. More to follow. Okay, well, got it cleaned up, got it primed on the bottom. Wasn't going to spend a lot of time down here because, you know, really it's the underside of a mowing deck. So all I did was shot some primer on the welds to kind of keep them from rusting. Had a half a can of black spray paint, so just put it on there, kind of cleaned it up. Shot a little black on there, and we're going to flip this thing over. We'll prime the top, and I'm still waiting to get a couple of cans of John Deere yellow, and we'll paint the top of the deck John Deere yellow just to give it a fresh, new, clean appearance. And we'll start putting this thing back together. We'll be mowing soon. And so I finished welding on the bottom of the deck, and I flipped it over, and I just took the drill and the wire brush, and I knocked off all the soot and everything just to see how the top ended up. And I tell you what, look right through here. I mean, that crack is flush. I think I did a pretty good job from the bottom getting that taken care of. You can see right here, here's the other crack. So that's actually pretty smooth. I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking on the top. You know, I bought some flat metal, and I was originally thinking about putting some reinforcement pieces across here. And I may still do that in a couple of spots, but I have to tell you, this is one of the spindles. That's the one on the bottom we welded up, and it's not perfectly straight yet, and I'm struggling to get it that way, but it's definitely a lot better than what it was. The good news is that's not a cutting spindle, so it's not going to really impact the way the blades are, and they got a little play in the way the belt runs, so I'm not overly concerned, because at first this thing was at a 45-degree angle, so we're not perfectly straight, but we're getting pretty damn close for government work. All right, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do, but so the welding on the bottom is finished, and now I'm ready to start welding on the top. But you know what? I think I got this deck headed in the right direction. More to follow. Okay, well, here it is. It's the end of the night. We're calling it quits. So I've done a few little spot beads, welded most of the cracks, did some spot beads. I welded the support in there to cover the major crack. We have reinforced and welded all around the base of that. So, you know, I'll come back tomorrow, probably do a little bit more welding, fill in some of the gaps in between the spot welds. But, you know, for the most part, I think the John Deere 54-inch Z525E is going to live another day. So there you go. I'm probably going to end up having about 12 hours of work, 8, I don't know, that's an exaggeration. I bet I'll have somewhere around 7 to 8 hours of total work in this repair job. And, you know, so far amount of spool of welding wire, basically 15 bucks. What else did I buy? Oh, we're gonna have to buy a can of spray paint, like 6 or 7. Bought a bunch of washers. I'm gonna double up washers on top and bottom on all 4 of those deals. So if there's any vibrations, it's less likely to break out, and we'll see. Deck repair happening. I'm a novice, but I'm learning. Well, this is what we're doing on the top side. So that's where the really bad crack was. So you can see we cut a piece of flat iron, and basically we're welding a bridge. So what that is we're gonna put that on top of it. Keep in mind on the bottom side, we welded that crack all the way across. So on the top, I welded in the flat iron, and I'm gonna weld it on both sides. So in essence, we have a bridge across the crack that ran this way. So hopefully we got good metal on the left, good metal on the right, and we'll go in there. I tell you what, this deck is fairly thin, so you can see what I'm doing. And over here was the actual crack that was left behind. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting some spot beads in place because I don't want to weld too much. I'm really worried about burning through the deck. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional welder. So I'm gonna go through here and keep putting some spot welds in between each of the dots, and then I'll go back and connect the beads. It won't be very pretty, but hey, it is what it is. But I think structurally, that is going to help a lot. Just having that extra metal over that crack, and it runs from that angle iron on the side to this one. So definitely holding that corner of the deck together. Over here, this is the spindle that was bent and busted. So on the bottom, that's where we put the piece of metal that goes this way as a tie. So I'm hoping that that will all tie in, give it a lot of strength, security, and then we can start putting this thing back together. So tomorrow is Wednesday. I'll probably finish up the welding tomorrow. Thursday might be a little prep day, painting, trying to clean this thing up, buy an aerosol can of John Deere yellow paint, and spray some paint on here. And then I think I have new blades that are gonna show up on Thursday, and we'll start to put it back together slowly but surely. You know, life deals you lemons. What do? You make lemonade. So more to follow. Okay, here we are, Wednesday afternoon. It's about 5:30, and we have finished welding the deck. So we have repaired all of the crack that went on, the crack that came up here. There was a major crack right here that we put a piece of flat iron on, welded, had a corner crack here. The deck was cracked all the way across here, so we repaired that. This spindle right here was cracked, so we welded, reinforced that. We just power washed it, getting ready to flip it over. When we flip it over, we'll look at the underside, power wash the underside. Then I'm gonna primer the bottom and paint the bottom, and tomorrow, and I'll primer the top tonight. But tomorrow I'll come back and trying to find a couple of cans of John Deere yellow spray paint. Lowell's is sold out, so I may have to go to Tractor Supply. But anyway, we're gonna get this repair done. Okay, well, here it is. It's Wednesday night. We have come a long way in a short period of time. So this is the top of the deck. Of course, we had all of the major welding done, had all this crack repair that we did all along here, also on the back side there. Of course, we had that spindle that was totally ripped out. So the deck had quite a bit of scratches and stuff on it. So I'm in the process. I've ordered a couple of cans of John Deere yellow spray paint, and the more I thought about it, I'm kind of like, you know what? You've worked this hard. Let's make it look good. Let's have a little pride in it. So went ahead and primed the whole entire top of the deck. We'll let this dry, and then in a couple of days, my paint should show up, and we'll paint it John Deere yellow, make it look nice, fresh, clean, and put it back together. But we're making progress, but you know, this should hold up. I mean, considering how we welded it, remember on the bottom, there's a huge fender washer right underneath here welded. It's welded on the top and the bottom. The crack is welded all the way across the bottom. And then we put the support on there, tying it into this support and this one. And then of course beef that up. So I'm hoping this lawnmower deck repair will work. Let me know what you think. Okay, so now we have shot a couple of coats. We bought 2 cans of John Deere yellow spray paint. We put a couple of coats on here. You can see it's still wet. You know, the repair job turned out okay. It doesn't look great or outstanding. I'm not gonna focus in too close on my welds, but I will tell you, I think it'll hold together. I think this repair will be okay. The main thing is when you look underneath the deck, if you really don't know what you're looking for, you probably won't ever notice it with all the belts and pulleys and everything on there, but hey, we rigged it a little, but I think the deck is gonna be a survivor. All right, we'll live to fight another day. Now the process is we're gonna start putting it back together. We'll get the chute back on the side. We'll put the spindles in. We're waiting on the blades to come in, but we'll start to put this back together, get it all buttoned up, and hopefully, maybe by Sunday of this week, have it back on the lawnmower. Thanks. Okay, well, here we are. We're looking at the bottom of the deck. So what have we done today? Well, we got our blades reinstalled. And you can see everything looks pretty good. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. They all spin rather freely. No strange noises or anything. They all look good. So, you know, I think we may be okay. I don't know. I'm a little afraid to call it. So what I don't know, which I got to do a little research on, and I'm a little concerned on this, is do they have to be pointing all in the same direction? Does it even matter? I mean, when they're spinning, they're all going to balance out, but that's what I don't know. So we're trying to find the John Deere owner's manual to get that worked out. But you can see in here where I welded the flat washer in. You can also see my other weld. Once again, don't be looking too close at my welds, but hey. So we welded it on the bottom. You can see, maybe you can see, I don't know, right here is the extra cross piece, the bridge we put in over that gap. So I'm hoping we got this thing kind of going our direction now. We will see very, very shortly. We shall see. But so let me hold this down. We're gonna set the deck back down on the ground. Look and see what we got. Bear with me. Watch your fingers. That thing is fairly heavy. All right, so you can see we got all the pulleys back on the top. Everything's tightened. Now I got to figure out the belt path again. We did take a torque wrench and everything on the bottom. We torqued the blades to specification. Now we're moving on to the next step. I think we have the top part put together. I think we're looking pretty good. So I got the pulleys in place. You can see we got clearance now on this. It's not perfect, but everything is moving. I feel pretty good about it. One of the things we also did was we came in here and we put washers. Imagine that, the concept of using washers, John Deere. Huh. Just to reinforce the metal around there in the event if you ever do hit something with the blades, it just gives it a little more structure because it's evident through the cracks and everything that the metal will definitely rip on you. So we beefed it up a little, used washers top and bottom, or excuse me, just on the top. We came in here, we welded a bridge, because if you remember, this was a totally bad piece of, that was one bad crack right there. We came around here, welded the crack up, welded the crack over, and put the bridge in. Underneath this one, if you remember on the bottom, we put the bridge and reinforced it, welded around it. We greased all of our fittings. This right here will hook on that once we get it underneath the mower and installed to get tension back on it. So we've come a long ways in a week. Just from scratching our head and looking at it to actually figuring out the next step. So one of the reasons I think all of the damage happened on that end is if you look down here, they got a piece of rebar, heavy duty welded. You got the metal on the side here. But over here on this one, if you look on this side, there is no metal across the bottom. So there is nothing across here to support it. There's no metal on the side because this is the discharge chute. So when that spindle broke over there, I think it put it in a wobble. I think the blade hit on this corner and this deck flexed a little. Okay guys, well, I think we're on our way to having the 525E back on board and going full speed ahead. So you can see down through here, we got it reinstalled. The only thing I'm missing is the covers are broke, and I gotta see if I can get the little support, but I don't know if I can get the spindle covers for it. I'm gonna have to do a little research, and I really don't wanna rig it yet. I apologize for the shadows here, but you can see the repair. This is where we did the bulk of it right here. And you can see underneath here, we got it all back together. At least I think we do. We're about to go on our maiden voyage, and we'll come back and give you an update.
This is not sped up. This is how fast he drives it.
All right, guys. Well, we just did our maiden voyage, and I tell you what, I think it did pretty good. So we did our test run. So everything seemed to run. There was no unforeseen vibrations. You know, it's not the prettiest repair job in the world, but the 525E is going to live to fight another day. So John Deere engineers, if you're listening, hey, I get your marketing strategy. I know you have 7 or 8 different models ranging from cheap to expensive to commercial to heavy duty. But come on, man, an extra $20 per machine, you could put a lot of reinforcement on there and make a guy really happy. Yeah, but I understand the whole designed obsolescence theory. I get it. You only want it to last so long so it'll break and somebody will buy another one. That's capitalism at its finest, and hey, I'm on board with that because you know what? I'm probably gonna buy stock in you guys. Anyway, going back down, check this out. So I gotta get a couple of covers. Hey, John Deere, if you're watching, why don't you send me 2 spindle covers for a 525E? It's the least you could do. But anyway, all right, and John Deere, if you guys need any help on the design team, I'm free to work as a consultant to help you beef up your equipment. Glad to do it. But hey, it's back on the road, it's working, and we're ready to start shredding again. Thanks guys. Hey, hit the thumbs up, leave us a comment. Love to subscribe to your channel, ring the bell on ours, check out our other videos. We've had it about 1.5 years now. So far I'm very pleased with it, with the exception of the deck. Thanks guys.